Desperate Place at its core is a tower defense survival strategy game with a painted art style and a lot of charm. You'll be playing as a spaceship crew unfortunate enough to have narrowly escaped their destruction. Now you're stranded at an alien planet, needing to repair your ship. You will have to go to the surface and survey the land in search of resources, but the local inhabitants of this planet really don't like you. The core gameplay loop of Desperate Place is to build up your defenses and your economy during the daytime. Then, you're going to fight off all the nasties at nighttime. You'll do this and try to survive a certain number of days to complete each map's objective. You will build varying types of collectors to mine these gems. The gems are then used for creating and upgrading all of your buildings. One thing to understand though is that the locations of your buildings and defenses are predetermined on each map. You can't just build anywhere in this game, and your resources are limited. If your collectors are destroyed that night, they don't provide gems. This forces some strategic thinking on whether to build more collectors to get more resources, or to build defenses to help protect them. But don't worry too much though, as the damage isn't permanent. Any buildings destroyed at night will respawn the next day, except if they destroy your shuttle. Then it's game over, and you'll have the chance to either restart that day with different decisions, or restart the entire level. So defenses come in various types, with each map having their specific locations. Autocannon turrets are good for focusing down one enemy at a time with a rapid fire. Missile silos shoot slower, but hit in a small AoE, so I found them really good for taking out all the flying enemies. Flame towers only attack ground units though, with a short range AoE, but they also taunt them. This can be really vital on certain maps. For your long range defenses, plasma cannons shoot a sustained laser that ignores armor and hits all enemies that the laser passes through. Mortars lob a ball of AoE mass destruction, but they have a slow fire rate. Anti-material cannons, on the other hand, they gun down single targets with high-powered rounds, and they always prioritize enemy siege units. Some maps even have defensive walls, and multiple trap types that do various effects to enemies that pass through them. Each of your defensive structures can be upgraded up to 3 times, but they require you to upgrade your shuttle to do so. You can't move these defenses, so it becomes part of your strategy as to which ones you want to build and which ones should you upgrade. You can, however, move this robot. With simple move, follow, and stay commands, the robot comes in various forms and abilities, such as a tanky defender, a commander that buffs nearby defenses, and my favorite one is this one. It has an ability to mass confuse your enemies, so not only does it hard crowd control, stops their assault, but it also makes them attack each other, so it's almost like having a bunch of extra turrets. After completing a mission, you will earn credits that can be spent to unlock up to 13 characters. Characters are the little guy that you directly control, and each one has unique passive traits, stats, and weapons. This is ranging from characters that are strong at directly fighting enemies themselves. You've got characters that are weak but grant massive buffs to your buildings or even your economy. For me, my favorites have been the Arsonist. He gets in close range with a flamethrower, he provides a lot of AoE damage, and he wipes out hordes of enemies. There's the Bomber, who drastically enhances missiles and mortar damage and their radius, but he also kind of makes your buildings weaker with less health. But good offense is the best defense, right? The most unique character though, in my opinion, is the Commander. He doesn't carry a weapon at all, but when you build the robot base station, instead of a single robot, you get a full team of them, including a mini commander, a protector, 3 basic gunners, and it's a really fun playstyle, having a little army that follows you around, and you can also set them places to hold the line. Now you may also want to use your credits to buy some armory upgrades. Each map has 2 special missions, and if you complete them, you'll get these medals. To buy armory upgrades, you'll need to earn a minimum number of medals, and once unlocked, you can use these powerful buffs to do various effects. Some enhance the various collector outputs, others will increase your damage. Most of them are only going to stay in effect for 1 night, but there are a couple of them that are permanent after use. You can activate as many of these as you want at a time, but it requires temporarily using up those medals. You can only use each buff once per mission, so you have to choose based on the map and situation. Some of these buffs can even temporarily change the weather. Weather can mess with the functionality of certain buildings and traps, so you'll need to consider these temporary weather changes. Things like the mud trap deactivate when it's sunny, drying up the mud temporarily, The wind collector is enhanced during windy sandstorms, generating additional resources, and solar panels will deactivate when it's cloudy. This can be a major issue, as if you don't have enough power, all of your defenses will turn off simultaneously, leaving you extremely vulnerable. This can also happen if the enemy destroys your power generators, so make sure not to leave them undefended, especially when you're against the occasional boss enemy. Each one of the bosses is unique with different tactics and issues to deal with. But to avoid spoiling them, I'll just show you the first one you encounter. He changes where he approaches from each night and spawns additional enemies over time. So if you don't deal with him quickly, you're just going to get overrun. If you want even more punishment than the bosses though, there are challenges that you can activate. These range from things like increased enemy health and damage, to things like your character and robot becoming weaker. Each challenge that you equip increases the amount of credits you'll earn from that mission. It will also increase your maximum score for an arcade-style leaderboard. The amount of variety that challenges, crew members, and armor buffs add gives the game a whole lot of replayability potential, especially if you're like me and really like chasing high scores in games. It took me about 7 hours of gameplay before beating the final boss, but I also put in another 7 hours grinding more characters and trying all the different strategies I could come up with. And I still have a couple more to unlock while I try to get to the top of the leaderboards. Overall, it's been a very satisfying strategy game that at first felt kind of easy, to be honest, but then it quickly started to gain a lot of depth, and it made me have to think a lot to solve each map. The game does have some rough edges for critique though. As a controller is recommended, I was expecting the crew members to play like a twin stick shooter, where I'd actually be able to aim my weapon. But instead it's an auto aim function, and it becomes really annoying when enemies attack critical buildings and you can't even switch targets to try to stop them. Really all you can do during the night raid is just give your robot simple commands and try to run around enemies to have them target you over your buildings. So if they added the ability to either aim or at least a button to switch targets, I think this would be completely solved and a lot more engaging. Having all of the structures and defenses predetermined was pretty off-putting at first, but I did get used to the idea once I understood that this is more like a puzzle to solve. And that involved learning what structures I should build, which ones I should upgrade, and that was all based on what enemy types might appear each night. I do really love the amount of crew member options that you can unlock, but most of them kind of felt really lackluster. Specifically, most of the fighter types that don't buff buildings, generally they aim at a single target, but most of them don't really do enough damage to really contribute, especially when you can't choose what to aim at. But then you got actually good and fun characters like the Bomber, adding 40% damage and 15% radius to all of your missiles and mortars, which really allows you to strategize and build around those buildings. But he also has a laser beam weapon, and you can walk around enemies to hit more than one at a time, which was a lot more engaging gameplay than the ones that just kind of fire random bullets. The English translation could also use some work. There's quite a few typos and grammar issues, but let's be honest. English is a very difficult language, and they still did a good enough job that I was able to understand everything. I think English players could easily give feedback on their Discord and have all of this fixed within a single patch. And really, all of these critiques have simple fixes that could enhance the game a lot. And within 3 days of the launch, the devs already put out a patch which adjusted a bunch of things based on player feedback. So that kind of makes me really optimistic that they will likely improve all of these small issues that I have. So I had a lot of fun with Desperate Place. It was a really enjoyable challenge, and I like to think that my brain has more wrinkles now. So I would like to thank the developers at Bruce Galaxy, as they did sponsor us with a copy for me to review and show you guys their game. It's only around $10 on Steam, and it does have an introductory sale until May 5th. If this review helps you decide if Desperate Place is for you, you may want to check out my entire review playlist on the right for more games.